What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning into this episode of English Turks, where I review your favorite Turkish series with and without English subtitles. And today we're talking about Masumlar, Apartmani, episode 13. Guys, I just watched the episode and I'm just gonna say this. It's always an amazing time when we're watching Masumlar Apartmani. So in this episode, of course, there is so much tension between Ezra and NJ, which I kind of agree with Ezra. Ezra has had NJ's back from the beginning, like with everything that she wants to do. Ezra has had her back, and for this thing, for her to turn her back on Ezra to support her husband, I mean, that's hurtful. But then at the same time, she does have to give priority to Han. But the way she went about it, I didn't like it, because why would Ezra lie to you about that? Why would Ezra think, say all that stuff about Ugar, and you knew Ugar, you knew how Ugar was. Why would she say all of that if she was just trying to lie on Han when she had your back from jump? And Han is not even telling you the truth. He's kind of like blowing past the subject, and you're just taking it. That I didn't like. And with Han, I didn't like that he was doing that, because obviously he knows that he did in fact do all those things to Ugar. So anyway, he's trying to control Guben, trying to help her not to do the things that she's doing. So he's banned her from leaving the house and also taken away her phone. And then he told everyone, including Bayram, not to allow her to use their phones and not to allow her to leave the apartment. So she's just basically stuck at home, and NJ's like, oh, you can't do that. It's going to make her want to do it, especially since she felt like, the same thing happened with her mother. And so she's thinking, hey, you got to choose a different way to take care of this. So now, which honestly, I think she was butting in a little bit too much, because she doesn't know the depths of the situation. But I understand that she's trying to help Gulben. At the same time, Safia is speaking with Naji, and she basically slams the door in his face. Her father's like, what's wrong with you? Which, me too, I'm like, what's wrong with you? But she's trying to hide the fact that she saw him, and hide the fact that they're like knowing each other and everything like that. And you know what? It's just her mother that screwed with her brain so much. She's even praying to the Lord and saying, I didn't think it. I didn't think it. She's obviously still in love with the guy. And she's like, I didn't think it. Forgive me, Lord. It wasn't me, and all that stuff. And man, she needs so much therapy. It's not even a joke. She needs therapy like yesterday's hands. But anyway, NJ, not NJ, Neriman is at school. She's talking to the teacher. The teacher's asking her a few inquisitive questions. I guess he's trying to figure out, is Han, the wife? If is Han Safia's husband? But then she realized, no, that's her brother. But the thing that's confusing him is, I think, is because Han was away at school, so he never really met Han. And so finding out that, no, that's their brother, it's kind of a little confusing for him, I think. And so he's kind of like quiet, just watching, just seeing, just surveying the area. I wish there was more Neriman and Ece scenes. Honestly, when they said that they were going to read the poetry for school homework, I really thought that Neriman and Ece were going to do the project together. However, they didn't. But they did have a little conversation at the end of class where you can see they're both a little jealous of each other. Neriman's like, well, if you do that, then Gamze's going to, be so happy if you learn how to fall in love. And he's like, well, you're not too far from doing the same thing because of the other guy, Emre. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with them. I want more Neriman and Ece scenes. If anybody from the show even hears this podcast, please give us just a little bit more. But then on the other hand, let's talk about Han a little bit and what he did to Assad when he kind of like questioned Assad in his office. And the thing is, he's right. Yeah. Okay. Ezra is using Assad's feelings for her to kind of manipulate the situation because she is secretly talking to the head of the radio station. So, but I think he said it in the wrong way. He got really defensive. And at the same time, that kind of hurt Assad because Assad is trying to be a good friend to him. And so he was a little bit hurtful. And he's like, at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my sister. And he's like, yeah, sure, you got to protect your sister. But I'm trying to help you out here. And I think he should have been nicer to Assad because Assad is really like, aside from NJ, now it's NJ, but before NJ, Assad was his only like true connection to the outside world, like of having a friend, someone to talk to, relate to, things like that he grew up with. So to ruin that friendship because Gulben doesn't got, is like doing craziness, it's ridiculous. So anyway, NJ convinces Han to let her take Gulben out, but Gulben did it on purpose so that she could find a way to get to Assad. And when she called Assad on NJ's phone, she finds out that Assad is with Ezra, and so she gets really mad, leaves the restaurant, and goes to the radio station to Assad. When she gets there, she sees them together, gets really angry, and pushes Ezra through a window. Now, she runs and hides. Ezra's fine, which I was like really scared because if you look at glass, think about it. Like the glass got to be all up and down her back. It's not even like she had a super thick shirt on to prevent glass from getting through. Like, come on, it's got to be in her head and her back, like all over. You don't crash through a window and not have stuff all over you. Plus, the glass from the top of the thing, because she's not as tall as the glass where it ends. So the glass at the top had to have fallen on top of her. But they removed all of that. And that's just all that was going through my mind. So anyway, Gulben runs and goes and hides. And they eventually find her and they take her home. And she's proud of herself because she didn't pee on herself. But there's so much more. Like, girl, come on. Like, you committed a crime. And you know what? I'm not mad at Ezra. Ezra has to file a police report. That'll be crazy if Ezra just let that go. She has to file a police report, and I think the only thing that's gonna make her take off that police report, it will be because of Assad. Maybe Assad is gonna say don't do it. I don't know about NJ or whatever, but definitely Assad, because Ezra don't want to hear nothing about what NJ has to say. Doesn't want anything to do with NJ, and you know what? She's right. She's totally has a right to feel that way. But anyway, so yeah, so Ezra reported it, and then they ended up having to take Gulben to the police station. But Gulben's freaking out, and who does she turn to? Her sister. I tell this to people all the time. At the end of the day, who are you going to have left? It's only going to be your sister. And so Ezra decides to tell the police, and then Gulben ends up having to get into the police car, and Han eventually sees it, but he sees it way too late. He turns the corner, sees it. Everyone sees it. Everyone. Najee sees it. Inja's grandfather sees it, sees the crying. I think Inja's grandfather is going to become much, much more softer towards the family because he even got to see, Safiye and Najee at the door, and so he understands. He's understanding more and more of the family, so I think his heart is going to soften more because he's going to realize how much Han has to deal with all of his sisters and the things that they're going through. It's just crazy. But this episode was just the most interesting thing ever. I absolutely loved it. I love every episode of the show. I get so engrossed in it, and every time it's about to end, I'm like, really? No, give us a few more minutes. But you know what? They work so hard, and especially like that whole scene with Gulben having to come down the stairs, and her sister's like, hold on to my hand. Of course, she had to hold on to her jacket. I mean, it was just so touching. It just brings you into that idea of them just being huddled in this house for almost all of their life, and just not experiencing anything and only having each other and realizing that they can only depend on each other. Now, hopefully, if Assad does convince Ezra not to continue with the complaint, hopefully no one tells this to Gulben, because oh my gosh, if they tell that to Gulben, there's no taking her back from that. She has to think that Han saved her and Assad did nothing to try to help her. Because then I think that will click in her mind and she'll realize that, she's screwing up totally. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on this episode. It was a crazy episode, but it's well worth the watch. I love it. It's so well worth the 2 hours. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys in my next podcast.